MTSS facilitator here at Spring Ridge, and my co-presenter is.
My name is Susanna Reynolds. I'm a 6th grade math teacher here at Spring Ridge.
So just to kind of let you know a little bit about our school, we are located in Maryland, and when everybody thinks of Maryland, they think of Baltimore or Annapolis, but if you noticed right down here at the star, that is where our school is. We are Southern Maryland, and we are a rural middle school. We have about 850 to 900 student enrollment, and we have a very diverse population. Our population of students is culturally diverse, as well as socio and economically diverse. About a little over 60% of our students are free and reduced meals, and about 50% of our students are known as economically disadvantaged. So we're going to spend some time today talking about TFI 2.13 decision making with student performance data. And we're really going to kind of focus in on our check-in, check-out that we have been working to develop over the past 2 years. Down here at the bottom is a link. In this slideshow, it talks about all of the passable data sources we use when we start making decisions about students and about the interventions that are going to be appropriate for them to use. And the one data point that I want to talk about is what we call our request for assistance. That's what brings students to the attention of the Tier 2 team. And we try to keep things as simple as possible. That one data sheet that a teacher can fill out, a parent can fill out, or even students can self-refer, basically ask for some strengths of the students. What intervention would you like to see them placed in? Is it check-in, check-out? Is it, looking for more of that individualized counseling goals, or are you looking for a group? The Tier 2 team then gets together, and our data that we look at students' grades, we look at their behavioral data, along with attendance data. And then the nice thing about having some of our mental health supports, we're also to bring in some of that mental health data if we need that. Because when we look at check-in, check-out, we are using it for students who may have behaviors, students who may have some mental health issues such as anxiety or need connection, or students that are basically having some academic problems in our class. So we kind of spread it out. The value in all of this is it not only helps staff understand where a student's coming from, it helps a student begin to regulate. The multiple data points gives us a good idea of what intervention may be most appropriate, because not every kid is going to flourish under check-in, check-out. This allows us to get plans and interventions into place, and even though a teacher may say, hey, I'd like the student in check-in, check-out, when the team has sat down and reviewed all of our data points, we may think, hey, because of this, the student may need more intense individual type of work with the school social worker. And also, when we redid the form, this allows students to start advocating for their own needs, because a student a lot of times will know themselves best. And we have had a lot of success in students being able to say, hey, I feel this is going to help me. Ms. Reynolds is going to go over kind of what that process looks like when a student has been accepted into check-in, check-out.
So the first thing we did is we developed a database decision-making system. What that means is we defined explicit criteria for identifying students who need that support for check-in, check-out. And Ms. Hall went over a lot of that with our RFAs, our requests for assistance, and identifying students who need academic support, behavior support, discipline referrals, and attendance and mental health concerns. So that's a lot of the stuff that we go over when we get those referrals. But we also have to give teachers the training and the support they need for when we pass students on into the check-in, check-out process. So we give them straightforward training and help them know when to intensify check-in, check-out, how to modify it, or how to fade support. So our Tier 2 team meets once monthly to monitor data and adjust student performance and review that data and analyze it each time, and based on whether a student needs to be moved forward through the check-in, check-out program or pulled back a little bit or adjust it based on those students' needs. So this is how our check and check out program looks based on developing that work. When a student starts out, they start out in phase one, where the teacher evaluates the student through each day. We have 8 periods plus an advisory period. So the teacher will score the student based on what we have as being safe, on task, accountable, and respectful. So we evaluate the student based on those 4 performance initiatives. Then we will move a student on to phase 2, which is teaching the student self-management, self-regulation. So in phase 2, the teacher and the student score the student together. Then once the student moves on to phase 3, the student scores themselves. And once the student moves past and achieves full self-management, they move on to graduation, and we celebrate that achievement. So to break down phase 1 a little bit more and how they move on to phase 2, they need to achieve 80% of their points for 4 out of 5 days a week for 4 weeks to move on to phase 2. We say 4 out of 5 days because we don't expect students to be perfect. We want them to have room for error. We expect students to be absent, maybe be sick. We want them to achieve that goal but not be perfect. We don't expect perfection. If they achieve 60 to 80% of their points, they stay on phase 1. So it's not always going to be perfect, but it lets us know that they are still having some success. If they get less than 60% of the points during those 4 weeks, they cycle back to the tier 2 team, and we analyze it for maybe their intervention isn't working. We look at things that we can implement, maybe sometimes a new mentor, maybe alternate something else that we can do in check and check out. So in phase 2, once the student graduates from phase 1 to phase 2, it's very similar. But the difference between phase 1 and phase 2 is it's only 3 weeks of self-evaluation with the teacher. So the teacher and the student are both evaluating, but it's still 4 out of 5 days, but it's only for 3 weeks this time, rather than phase 1, which was 4 weeks. So it's kind of gradually progressing the student off of check and check out. If the student stays at between 60 and 80% of the points earned, they stay at phase 2. And if they get less than 60% of the points earned, they cycle back to phase 1. One thing we've noticed about phase 2 is it helps increase students' accountability when they start phase 2. Some students struggle with it, but they adjust and they end up doing very well with it. We've seen a lot of progress with it. Then phase 3, this is where students are fully evaluating their own behavior and their progress. In phase 3, 80% of points earned must be for 2 weeks. And once that happens, the tier 2 team meets to discuss exiting the check and check out program and graduating. This is always such an excitement because you've seen students be on phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. You've seen them go through the whole process, and students and the mentors and the entire team gets very excited about this process. If a student doesn't quite meet 80% for 2 weeks, they stay on phase 3. But if they get less than 60%, they cycle back to phase 2. There's nothing wrong with cycling back, but it just lets you know that what you may be doing might not be working, but there's always a way to continue to move forward and move back.
And the nice thing is we have seen an impact, and we give a lot of grace sometimes to our students because we do understand, like right before big breaks, we're just getting back from spring break. The week before spring break, we sometimes see a huge increase in behaviors. But since we really honed in on looking at data, doing this, following it, last year, we were averaging about 10, 11 daily instances a day. And that is where kids are getting those negative behavioral office referrals. We worked really hard last year, making sure we were tracking the data, making sure the right students were in the right intervention. This year, same time, Our daily incidences are down to 6.16, which is really big for us. We've seen a 39% decrease by doing these things. The data lets us know students are in the correct intervention. And then, like Miss Reynolds was saying, we can always kind of modify. We have these check-ins in the morning and the afternoon. Some students need a midday pick-me-up check-in, and it's brief. It's like a minute or less. Hey, how are you doing? How are those points coming? And I know we talked about the points. If you on the second slide, it had all of our data resources. You will see the point sheets for each of the phases. So we have noticed as we are taking this slow and growing, we are seeing the impact not only with our students, but with our staff. Staff tend to be less stressed because students' behaviors are down. So, part of this was, let's do a self-reflection, self-assessment as we're moving into these new TFIs. We have worked really hard to hone in on check in, check out. So we gave ourselves a 3, and that was because it said all of tier 2 supports. Check in, check out is one of the only strong, robust tier 2 supports we have going on now. We are trialing this year attendance groups. In the morning, we have an ELL attendance group, and we also have a 6th grade attendance group. And what's really unique about this is we're using peer mentors. So our 8th graders are running the 6th grade attendance group. So some of the things we hope to do in the future is we definitely want to increase our tier 2 interventions and supports. We want to do small groups based on student needs and our data indicators. But another thing we also want to do is increase our peer mentoring opportunities. We've also taken one 6th grade student and one 8th grade student, and the 8th grader is actually serving as that check-in, check-out champion. They meet every morning. They set the goal for the day. And then in the afternoon, before dismissal, that the peer mentor and the mentee meet again to review the day, what worked, what didn't work. And we have found that this has been very beneficial because the student who is being mentored by another student is progressing very quickly through the phases, and just having that support of somebody, it's almost like a big brother role. And my younger student wants to impress the older student. And it was a careful selection, and we made sure we had the right students matched together. But again, that's where the data helped us, making sure we're matching students with the correct mentors along with the correct intervention.
So for those of you who are just getting started, establish clear decisions and consistent decision rules for identifying students and the evaluation process on how you want to get them started and how you want to build your systems. Also, be consistent with how you review your data. So we actually have MTSS meetings twice a month, but we only review data once a month. And we set that at the beginning of the year, and we have those dates set for everyone in the school building to know. Create clear guidelines for when you want to modify or intensify or fade sports. That makes it obvious to students. It makes it clear to staff so that you can get more buy-in by staff, because you want to have buy-in from staff so that they will build into the system, and the more support you can get from your staff, the more you'll be successful in this. You also want to have clear training on how to implement this so that everyone has a clear understanding of what they're doing. Don't make it overly complicated, because otherwise not everyone will be on the same page. You want staff to know their roles in this as well as students. So like how we have multiple phases, have staff understand what they're doing. So like our teachers who aren't champions, they understand that they're signing and they understand what each part means. But our champions, they understand that in the mornings they check in with students, and at the end, students are supposed to come back to them at the end of the day. Make sure you have clear responsibilities for everyone involved in the process. Overly complicated systems discourage everyone from participating. And those who are trying to get better, take that data and dive deeper into it. Move beyond just basic data, look for patterns and trends. So like we started off with check and check out last year, and now we're moving on to attendance this year. We're creating our attendance groups, and hopefully next year we'll go even deeper with that, build on even stronger. And like Miss Paul said, we have started our mentor system with check and check out. We want to do more of that next year because it's really started working for us. Focus on fidelity. We make sure that what you're doing is being done by everyone. As systems mature, it becomes important to make sure that interventions are implemented as they were designed to be implemented. Then use that data to refine everything, just fine tune everything, and use that student performance data not only to identify students needing the support, but also improve it. Continue to expand your professional development and help staff refine their skills in interpreting data and delivering effective interventions. And continue to evaluate your system. We all think that we're doing great, but we can always continue to improve.